Hey y'all. Say hey, brothers. Say hello. He's all sleepy because he's been in day camp all day, so I could run around and do the things I need to do where they don't allow dogs. But anyway, welcome to Sabrina's story time. I'm glad y'all can pop by. Um, what I wanted to talk about today was a little bit of prayer and faith and miracles. You know, so let's go with the story. Well, first off, I always remember my grandpa was just the king of one-liners. He was so funny, and he'd say things like, "Don't give up. The next day you win the lotto." And I was like, "What?" And now I know what that means. Sometimes the lotto is slow coming, but you do get your restoration. Okay. Um, in our times of fear and doubt and confusion, which is totally right now, okay, and a sense of hope and a sense of doom and sense of change, all of these crazy senses going on, not to mention all of the cosmic events. I mean, I've been tired. How about y'all? Oh my goodness. I'll be just like motoring along all of a sudden, I'm like, whew, I'm whipped. But anyway, this story that I've shared with multiple people, I think I need to share it today. Okay? So sit back, relax. I'm telling you a story. All right, now this is about one of the darkest times of my life. Yay! But no, it really was. I was going through a really heavy duty breakup with a man that made my life a living hell. And there were children involved, and there was a lot of drama, especially with the children. And he eventually, it came to a crescendo, and he tried to kill me. He was choking me to death. And I say it lightly because it's been so many years. It's been close to 40 years. But it was bad. All right, and I ran for my life with my children, and I went back to my parents' house. Now, that's about 15 other stories right there, but it wasn't the best, all right? And the second they could, they kicked me and the kids out. They just didn't want to be part of the drama. Now, part of me understands that now that it's a lot of water under the bridge, and a lot of me forgives it, okay, because it needed to happen for me to learn lessons. Now, here I am. My daughter was young and my son was a baby. They were 5 years apart, and I had gotten a lady to babysit for me so I could look for a job when I first went from Charleston, running away from this man, to Birmingham, Alabama. Okay, Charleston, South Carolina, to Birmingham. Now, being kicked out of the house with nowhere to go and no money, when you think at least, a family should take care of me, it was very upsetting. But like I said, I didn't have any money, and I had met a woman through the Yellow Pages the day before, and she had babysat both of my kids while I was, trying to get back on my feet and go find a job. So I dropped my daughter off with her that day, and I took my son with me, and he was just little. So here we are. We went through the Yellow Pages, and we were looking at shelters for abused women and children. Real happy days. So we found 3, and I was going to check them all out. And I kept getting lost looking for the first one. I mean, I went around and around and around. I couldn't find the place, right? Well, I was determined that I was going to make it work. I was going to figure it all out, and God was on my side, kind of thing. But I found myself on the side of the road with a sleeping baby, another one with, basically a stranger, and my husband who tried to kill me, and my family turning their back on me. Not a pretty scene. And I ran out of gas, and I had no money. And I mean, I just started thinking. I had just read this book, The Magic of Believing. It's this little book, and I swear there's something about that book and a lot of other. I could list all the other systems of belief, but I just finished reading that, and I put the principles in place. I was like, I can sit here and I can freak out, and it's not going to get anything done, or I can set that rear view mirror behind me, and I can believe with all certainty and all my might, like it's already done, and it's in motion, that help is on the way. The perfect right help is on the way. I mean, I sat there just almost indignantly staring at that rear view mirror. And it doesn't seem very long. It could have been maybe 10 minutes, okay, that I was on the side of the road looking at my rear view mirror. Well, I mean, lo and behold, here comes this shiny, brand new red tow truck, pulls right up behind me. Now, I am in an old Volvo wagon. This thing is a tank, all right? And my son's still passed out. I mean, he is out. And this chick gets out of the truck, and she's this big, buff chick. And if you knew me back then, I looked at her and I was like, whew, that's a big dyke. Because she just was so androgynous, okay? And she was just so big and buff, right? And I immediately felt super guilty for saying that. I mean, I was very sorry I said that. I was like, why did that come out? Why did I think that, And I knew it was just super wrong. I was just I felt very guilty, a lot of remorse. And she came up to the window, I rolled it down, and I was like, listen, I'm in trouble. I don't have any money. And she just cut me off, like with her hand like this, and she said, it's okay. I'm here to help. And I was like, okay, I was like, seriously, I don't have any money. So then she, I'm sorry, I'm like, look, a squirrel, but I'm seeing an orb flying around out in my courtyard over there while I'm telling this story. But anyway, so back to the story. She said, go ahead and get in the truck and I'll load the car up. And I found myself almost in an instant trance. I'm surprised, on a side note, how many people told me that they did that grace under fire thing where if it was hitting the fan, they went right into mental margarita mode, okay? And I mean, I went there. It was like I was hypnotized, and I went and I climbed up in the cab of this truck, and I had my son with me, and I mean, he wasn't, it was crazy. So I climbed up in there, and I'm kind of looking around, and I'm like, wow, it's really clean in here. I observed that because if you've ever been in a tow truck, they're usually the nastiest cab on earth. They got oil, grease spots, dirt, tools, papers, Coke cans, whatever. I mean, it's usually just trashed. And this was like right off the factory line clean. And then I started looking, I was like, there's no radio. And, it was just like there was no, it looked very simple, like to the point that it was no factory add-ons at all. I mean, less than that. And I was like, that's weird. About that time she jumped in, I was like, now I saw people struggle to get that car up. And I mean, she had it up before I could even really do the math, And she climbed in and she says, where were you going? And I told her I was going to this place, and I knew it was close by, and I was running around and around, and I thought I'd find it before I ran out of gas. And she says, maybe it's not the right place for you to be. And she said it in a way that I thought was quite strange, like she knew. And I turned around and looked at her, and I was really studying her, and I'm a portrait artist, so I really pick up details. And I noticed she didn't have any dirt under her fingernails. Actually, her skin was pristine. She had like alabaster skin. I'm getting chills saying this, but it was almost like it glowed from underneath. Her skin was creamy colored, and she had not one freckle. you know. I mean, it was, and then I looked at her jumpsuit, and there wasn't a mark on it. It was like one of those zip-up canvas kind of cotton jumpsuits, and I mean, I started looking at her, and I just kept thinking, that's something not adding up, you know. But it's almost like I was stoned or something. I mean, I was in some kind of weird trance. I was under grace, okay. And she said, we went like right down the hill, and she gassed up my car. I was like, you just don't know. You're saving the day. You're an angel. You're a godsend, you know. And I said, listen, I need your number. I'm going to get on my feet, and I'm going to take you out to dinner. And I mean, I was adamant. And she just kept going, no, it's okay. I said, well, yes, I insist. I'm not getting out of this truck. Because, I mean, she had that thing down and gassed up before. I mean, it was just like all so quick, you know. And I was insisting. I said I wasn't going to get out of the truck until she gave me a number where I could reach her, because I was going to take her out to dinner, wherever she wanted to go once I got on my feet, and I meant it, you know. And she said that's okay, but she ended up telling me her name, and it was Christine. I said, oh, that means of Christ. I know that because my middle name is Christine. And she just kind of looked at me real funny, like, I don't know, it was just the weirdest look. And she had blue eyes and black hair. Her hair was cropped short and a different kind of cut, almost like what I've got now. And she said, she gave me a number. She wrote it down. I gave her a piece of paper and a pen. I said, write it down. I mean it. And so she wrote down this number, and her letters, the font that she wrote in was strange. I mean, now we see all these angels, sigils, and stuff like that, and it was kind of like she almost struggled to write it down. You know, it was weird. But anyway, I thanked her and thanked her and thanked her, and we were on our way. And I mean, just like that, I found that place. Because I had looked, I mean, I was lost looking for it. And yeah, it was not the right place. It was like a halfway house. It was a real sketchy neighborhood. There were some people walking around that were dubious. And the second place I went to was perfect. It was in a Y. They had a swimming pool there. They had, actually, because you're running with nothing, I mean, you know, they had ways to get you around if you didn't have a car. They had adopted grandparents to watch your children. They had a whole room full of, like, it was like a little department store, everything you needed, shampoo, clothes, all kinds of stuff. And they had full-on counseling, and it was mandatory. They had all kinds of, they had a whole agenda. There were chores to do. Everybody pitched in, and you know, it made me sane in an insane situation. Yeah, baby. So, anyway, I told the director about this when I was checking in. I said, listen, I need to, you know, after we went through all the protocols or whatever, I said, they had this wall phone in the hall. I said, hey, can I use that phone? I need to call this chick that helped us. And she said, what do you mean? And I told her the story. And she said, yeah, go ahead and call him. And so I call this number, and a man answers. And I'm asking for Christine. And he says, you've got the wrong number. I said, no, I asked her over and over if that's the right number. I said, she said she lived there and worked out of there. And he goes, well, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a church. Getting chills telling the story. It's not the first time I've told it, but it's always exactly the same. And anyway, so, you know, I lived in that town for 4 years. And I knew that area, and I've not once saw that part of the highway empty like it was that day. And I found that church. I called again and found out where the church was located. It was the closest church to where I broke down. Okay. And I went back, told the director, you know, of the shelter what happened. And she says, honey, that was an angel. And, you know, it's like down deep I knew it, but when she said it, it was mind-blowing, okay? But I have carried the fact that something supernatural happened at one of my darkest hours, and it is always good to believe, have faith, and be certain that good can happen in the darkest hour. And whenever I'm thinking, you know, it's a rough day, or whenever I feel like, you know, I could possibly lose hope, or I could be overcome by fear, or have doubt and confusion and conflict going on in my head, I think. But then there was Christine, okay? So take what you will out of that story, but it definitely happened. My kid never woke up until we got to the shelter, and he was not like that. So, but anyway, I've been wanting to share that with y'all. It's a story that I hope gives you a little something to ponder, a little something to chew on about how the supernatural works. And I just love y'all, and I hope that it helps in these times, that you are not alone. Someone's got your back, and all you have to do is believe it. And you got to believe it with certainty, okay? Because, I mean, I was certain that help was on the way. And there's multiple things in the Bible about that. There's things in other religious organizations about that. The Rosicrucians cover that. The Secret covers it, and it's from so many different areas. But when you want something, if it didn't hurt anybody else, and it's for the better good, and it's for your better good, I mean, we're not talking about something greedy. We're talking about something when you need help, okay? Call out for help, because your wish is their command, you know? And I say angels, you could say genies for all I care, but I think God is short for good. And I think when you call on God, even if it's passing a wreck on the road and going, God, I hope everybody's okay, that's a prayer. When you're saying, you know, if you ask for anything in the name of your children, you're going to get it if you ask the right way. So anyway, I've gone on. I'm trying to keep these things less than 20 minutes. But I'd love to hear all your comments about that, please. And thanks for coming by. Okay, and you got to push the button so I can tell more stories, because I got a bunch of them, okay? And now I'm going to go wash my face. I'm in my robe already. It's been a long day, and I thought before I get this red lipstick off, I'm going to tell you a story. All right, Butters and I've had a long day. She's looking all like, Mama, come on. I want to go night-night. And he won't go night-night without me cuddling him. Okay? So y'all think about Christine. I love you very much. Get out there and make the world great with your love and your spirit and your light. Okay? Alrighty. Next time. Bye. Push that button.